Is Phantasma by Kylie Smith worth the hype, or is this just another overhyped book? Let's find out. I will say though that honestly the romance in this book is not really doing it for me. Like, I don't get why they like each other so much. Like, it just seems like a plot device in my opinion. The intro to this book is honestly one of the best intros I've read in a long time. Like, he is convinced that she's a devil, just like anxiety that eats away at you if you don't follow through with what your urges are begging of you to do. I think I have pretty high expectations for Phantasma because this was recommended to me by one of my friends, and she said that it has really good representation of OCD, and I love that because, like, as somebody who lives with that, representation is pretty cool, and I just hope that it's really accurate as well. And she said it's accurate, so I believe her. So I think that's one of the reasons I have high expectations. And then also because I really did enjoy the Caravel series by Stephanie Garber. I love the Once Upon a Broken Heart series even more. I'm still crying over that one, to be honest. And yeah, this just seems like Caravel for adults. So from my understanding, Phantasma follows our main character Ophelia, and she and her sister's mom is murdered for whatever reason. And so her sister ends up entering Phantasma because if you win, then you get a wish. So I don't know if maybe she wants to wish her mom back alive or something. Not entirely sure. But the thing with Phantasma is that most people who enter don't usually come out alive. And so Ophelia is basically running after her sister so she doesn't die. And she ends up teaming up with this like stranger who, I don't know what, I think it's a like arrogant stranger. Yeah, charming, arrogant stranger. And imagine there's gonna be lots of nice tension. And so those two characters are going to go through Phantasma together to try to make sure that the sister's okay as well. So I guess maybe all three of them can win. I don't really know how that would work, but yeah, I don't really know too much about like what Phantasma entails. I just assume it's like a bunch of different kinds of challenges in the form of like a game, like in Caravel by Stephanie Garber. So that's kind of what I imagine, and like the way that how I understand the book. So yeah, without further ado, let's crack this book right open. So I'm now a little bit more than 100 pages into Phantasma, and here are my thoughts so far. This book has one of the best openings that I have read in a very long time. Like, it immediately, you get into the writing, you get into the world, you get into the characters, and the curiosity of like, whoa, what is happening? What does this mean? And the magicalness of it. Honestly, incredible. This hooks you right from the start. So good. So basically what has happened in Phantasma so far is we have our main character Ophelia and her sister Genevieve, and they're both in their like early 20s, and their mom passes away and they're a family of necromancers, which is like kind of cool. And so Ophelia ends up getting the powers from her mom when she passes away, because it kind of like goes down generations, but you have to like get it at a certain time before like the window is closed, if that makes sense. And so now she has this magic. She doesn't really know like how to use it properly yet, I would say. I don't even really know what the magic is. Like, just sometimes it kind of comes out in like little blue sparks and stuff. So yeah, that's her magic. And they find out that their mom had actually been using the home's equity and now owed a bunch of money to the bank. So they're gonna lose their house. And Ophelia, being like now in charge of everything, is like, well, that's not good. Like, we thought we had a bunch of money. And so her sister, who's very impulsive, ends up going into Phantasma, or we assume that she did because there's no actual like confirmation that she's in there. And Phantasma is basically like the 9 circles of hell, and the idea is that there's like 9 different levels in this kind of like devil's manor, and you have to go through all the levels, face challenges. There's like a hellhound at one point, there's ghouls, like you have to fight or escape or just really like outsmart things that are there. And so Ophelia ends up going into Phantasma because she thinks that's where her sister is, because she found old clippings of the Phantasma stuff in her sister's room when she said like she was going away to basically find a way to make sure that they're not gonna lose their home, because she realized how important it is to her sister. And so she kind of goes in there and she's separated into different groups. So there's like different groups who go into different levels and different parts of like the manor. So even though she's in Phantasma, she cannot see the other groups or visit any of them or anything like that. So she actually doesn't even know if her sister is here. And so she's with this other group, but she's kind of like going solo and going through like the different trials and stuff. And that's when she meets Phantom. Well, I mean, she technically met the Phantom before, but I also don't think this guy's a Phantom. I think that he's like the big head honcho. Like there's like this glossary at the front that talks about the hierarchy of paranormal beings. And at the top is the kin of the devils. And I think that that's what this guy is, because they say he's a phantom, which is the number, like the most powerful type of ghost. It's the most corporeal and powerful type of ghost. And he doesn't seem to really remember too much, but his path and Ophelia's path, they can't stop crashing into each other. And he wants to offer her a deal to basically help her win Phantasma so she can find her sister and get her out of there, if she helps him find the heart and the key. And he doesn't even know what that is. He just knows that if he gets that, he'll be able to get out of Phantasma. So he's basically just like stuck in there for whatever reason. And they have definitely like some instant attraction going on. I don't really know how I feel about it. Like it's definitely very like yummy, I would say. It's very yummy. And I think it's also part of like Ophelia's very alone. She's never really had anybody show interest in her really before. Like she's mentioned she had a couple of friends and stuff, but because this guy keeps showing up, I think that's kind of why she's drawn to him. And his interest in her, I have no idea. I feel like there must be like an ulterior motive, because he's just like really just immediately like, oh, interesting person you are. And it's like, but what about her is so interesting? Is it because she's the main character? I don't know. But yeah, I'm still enjoying it despite like that kind of like I'm not sure part. And then of course, Ophelia does live with obsessive compulsive disorders and like intrusive thoughts and stuff. And the way that it's been handled in this book is that she has like this shadow voice that basically like tells her that she needs to do stuff, or she's gonna like die, or everything around her is gonna destroy and break and all that stuff. And I thought that was kind of an interesting way to approach it, because like for me at least, my kind of internal monologue is not like that. It's more just like my entire being is just like riddled with fear, and like I just have like the urge to like tap a couple times or flip things upside down or like spin around, like, you know, do those kind of like rituals. And so it's interesting to see that hers is more like a voice kind of talking to her, whereas when I think about it myself, it's not really like a voice, it's more just like an urge. But I guess you could say it's kind of like a voice, but it is still pretty cool to see a character who does similar things to me and knows like what you're doing doesn't really make sense. Like for me, I have to, before bed, I have to go look at my lock on the door. I have to touch it 3 times, stare at it again, and then I can go to bed. But if I don't do that, like I get super freaked out. And so seeing Ophelia do similar things, like except for hers is the headboard, she has to knock on her headboard. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of similar to me. And I think it's just nice to see. So yeah, she just finished level 1 of 9 in Phantasma. And honestly, I'm really just captivated. I really like the kind of like gothic, dark tones of this book with the romance and the mystery, and it's just like so fun. I am surprised though the amount of typos that I'm finding in this book, but I mean, what you gonna do? It's proofreading is really hard. I know, because I proofread for my job. So yeah, anyways, I mean, it doesn't really bug me too much. It's more just like a, oh, just kind of surprised, I guess. Either I'm getting really good at finding typos, or I don't know. But anyways, I'm going to continue to read Phantasma, and I will update you around the halfway mark, so I will see you then. So I'm definitely more than halfway through Phantasma, and I cannot put this book down. Like, it's just like so captivating, and the trials and like kind of different levels that Ophelia is going through are so fun and like creative. So each of the levels that she goes through are focusing on a different like deadly sin. She'd gone through like lust and wrath and gluttony and those kind of guys, and each of them were kind of curated for that sin, and they get harder and harder as they go along. There was this one round where it's like kind of looked like a big chessboard, and if you're super greedy and you take more than you should, like, it can cause the deaths of people. And a lot of the trials are like that, where it's like, to survive, other people are going to die. But people can forfeit if they want, make a deal with the devil, all of that good stuff. So she's going through the trials. She's really relying on the Phantom Blackwell to get her through these, but there was one trial that she did figure out on her own, which I really liked, because I like that she can just figure it out, you know, not rely on other characters or people. I will say though that honestly the romance in this book is not really doing it for me. Like, I don't get why they like each other so much. Like, it just seems like a plot device in my opinion. I imagine that he's probably like drawn to her because of like the locket, because they talked about how he needs a heart and a key, and knowing that she has like this heart-shaped locket that seems to like beat when he's nearby, I think that's why he's drawn to her. So like, I guess that's why, but like, I just don't feel it. Like, I don't feel the connection that they have with each other. It feels not like forced, but it just doesn't feel natural. I think I definitely would have liked way more build up, way more like smaller moments with these characters, because I don't know, like I said, doesn't really do it for me. I can't really get behind it. However, the rest of the stuff I do really enjoy. I love all of the interactions with the different characters. There's this Cade guy who reminds me a lot of the, what was his name? Jack from Fourth Win. Very similar vibes, where it's just this guy who's absolutely out to get the main character, make everything like horrible, try to get her killed and all that. And he has a very valid reason. Like, he is convinced that she's a devil because with her magical powers, like, it makes her eyes look a little bit different. She can have like magic and stuff. So yeah, he's out to get her because of that. And so he's constantly like making the trials, in my opinion, way more interesting. And yeah, I think that's pretty good. And there are definitely like, there's some drama, some stuff going on with all the devils. There's this devil Sinclair who definitely knows more than what he's saying regarding Blackwell, because Blackwell doesn't really remember anything except for when he was a phantom, which is why I'm convinced that I don't actually think he's the king of devils anymore now that we've kind of figured out who the king of devils is, but maybe he's like a prince of devils or something, and that's why he became a phantom, because they were saying like an immortal who was like obviously really, really strong can become a phantom, and that's why they're so rare. So I really don't think that he's an ordinary phantom ghost. There's definitely more to his story that he does not remember, but other characters seem to know the bits and pieces of. And like the whole reason about like why people can't fall in love in Phantasma is so tragic, but like it makes so much sense. So I really love learning all about kind of like the backstory of why this thing is like this, and about like the characters in the past who had participated in this. I thought that was really cool, and I really liked the Whispering Door scene that I just read, where Ophelia went through it for the second time and had a really good conversation with somebody. And then regarding Ophelia's like compulsions and kind of intrusive thoughts, the intrusive thoughts are so realistic when it comes to like, especially when it's like you have to do this, or like something horrible is going to happen, or like you have to leave right now, or something is going to happen. And I've had those experiences a lot. I think what I would like though is like when she's trying not to do the compulsions, that we get a feel more of like the anxiety and like how overwhelming it is when you don't do the ritual, and how it just, everything becomes like scribbly inside of you, and you like start to panic, like you can't breathe, you can't think, everything is just like crushing your soul. And you know that if you do the thing, that you're gonna be fine. And you also know that if you don't do the thing, that you'll be fine, but your brain doesn't know that. So I would love for when she's trying to like not, let's say like knock 3 times on something, that we get to feel the kind of panic that people do experience, I can say personally. And that's why she has to go through with that to alleviate that just like anxiety that eats away at you if you don't follow through with what your urges are begging of you to do. So yeah, I'm definitely enjoying this book. I wish I could get behind the romance a little bit more. Who knows? Maybe it will get better later. I'm not entirely sure. The scenes though, the romance, the spicy scenes, those are very good scenes still. They're still very nice scenes. They're very well done, very well written, very yummy scenes. So that's good. I just wish there was a better connection that like I personally could feel between the characters. I think it would make it better. But I mean, I'm still enjoying it, and that's what reading's all about. Enjoying stuff and like such a cool book. So yeah, I'm gonna continue to read Phantasma, and I will update you when I finish the book. So I will see you then with my final thoughts. Last night I finished Phantasma, and I gotta say, I read this book in like 25 hours. This was such like a easy read, the way that the book just kind of like pulls you into it, introduces you to this kind of like world based on like our world. It definitely has like some historical stuff in it, but I wouldn't really call it like a historical fantasy romance or anything like that, but it definitely was like in that time period of the past. But what I really enjoyed was just like how magical and kind of dark and gothic it was. I think that that's such a vibe, which is honestly really funny because I'm recording this on Christmas Day, hence the hat that I've been wearing. And I definitely should have read it on Halloween. It's way more of a Halloween vibe, but Halloween is my time. I love Halloween. So yeah, it's definitely had a really good gothic vibe, and it was just like so binge worthy. I will say though that I found the ending like a bit lackluster. It felt like really, really rushed and just kind of like not as good as the rest of the book. The intro to this book is honestly one of the best intros I've read in a long time. And the way that everything was spaced out, like you have each of the days and they have their own little sections and the different levels and stuff. But I found like once you got to the end and it just suddenly was like, ooh, and then it's like, oh, it's over. I thought this was a series, but I guess this is like technically a one-off, and then the next book is about a different character. So I felt a little bit disappointed, to be honest, that the book had ended the way that it did, and I felt like I would have wanted to have the characters discover the stuff instead of when it had like that flip to like the past with the devils and stuff. I would have loved for the characters to discover that instead of it basically kind of being told to us what happened, but I still enjoyed the book. I never did really get behind the romance in this book, but it was such a fun read anyways that, I mean, what you gonna do? Nothing's perfect, but it was still an enjoyable read. I'm definitely looking forward to the second book. I'll definitely be picking that one up. It's in Chantra, and it comes out in 2025, which is only a couple of days away. So today we are going to be awarding Phantasma a total of 4 stars. This book definitely deserves the hype that it gets. I think that it's very different too, which I really like, because a lot of the times when there's a book that's super, super hyped up, there's a lot of similarities to a bunch of books that I've already read before. So it doesn't feel as like new to me, but for this one, it definitely felt very new, very different, very fun. And I haven't really read something like this. Like, there's obviously books around that have the premise of like a character going through different levels and trials and stuff, but the way that this one did it was just like unique in its own way, and I'm a sucker for that gothic vibe. So yeah, I thought it was good. I did find though, like, our characters were kind of boring. Like the love interest, in my opinion, Blackwell, was so bland. I felt like his only personality was he was a bit mysterious, a bit arrogant, and he was really nice. I feel like he wasn't flawed enough for my liking. He was kind of boring, and I don't know. He didn't really do it for me. He didn't feel very realistic or anything like that. I think Ophelia's character was fine. I think she could have been a better character, but she was like interesting enough, I guess. I mean, I don't really know I didn't really like feel too much for her, but she was interesting enough with just like her inner demons and stuff that it did capture my interest. But yeah, I think that the story was stronger than the characters in this one, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons I couldn't get behind the romance, because I didn't really care about Blackwell that much. Like, it was very boring to me. So the next book that I'm going to be reading is actually a book that I got from one of those blind dates with a book, and it is The Christmas Cookie Wars by Eliza Evans. This is like a cute short little read. It is Christmas Day when I'm recording this, so it's the perfect book to read for this. And it's like a Christmas cookie baking competition between a teacher and like someone's mom, and there's romance, so that sounds pretty fun. So if you're interested in watching me read The Christmas Cookie Wars or any other book that happens to be on my never-ending TBR, definitely hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and turn on the bell notification. That way you get notified anytime a new video comes out. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!